My man, Ted Rall. How you doing, Ted? You doing okay this morning?
I'm okay, Terrell. How are you? I'm a little congested. Allergies are kicking my butt, but whatever.
I'm doing okay. I'm a bit jet lagged, but I'm all right. I'm still plugging along. I'm glad you could join me, man. There's right much to hit on, right much to talk about. Have you been paying attention to Trump's quote unquote big beautiful bill, as he's been calling it?
I have, yes. In fact, it's actually not just that's the official name. It's the
Oh, I know.
Yeah. It's not
I
just how
know.
he's been calling it. It's how it's called.
It's out that the
We are
idea.
Idiocracy, Mike Judge's film which was kind of banned, right? It at the time. It was never given. It was given a dutiful release by the studio because they were concerned that it was too insulting to the intelligence of the American public.
Seriously.
Yeah, it was never really released in theaters, and it's it's a cult classic now. It's Mike
Yeah.
Judge, and it's so prescient.
It's so spot
when you
on.
go look at it, you're like, holy cow, this is exactly what happened, right?
And just for the American public, like the people who may not know what we're talking about, Idiocracy is a movie that came out where the basis of the movie was that a regular guy, just rando guy, throw a rock at a guy, that guy ends up into the future. And when he gets into the future, I forget how many years, the
500
IQ,
years.
okay, the IQ of everybody has diminished. And so that rando guy is the smartest guy on the planet. And that stupid people kept breeding where smart people stopped having children. And so the population got dumber and dumber and dumber over the course of time. And so he's like the president. Oh, I can't forget his name. He had the chainsaw. He had the wrestling outfit with the American thing on.
He's like Macho Camacho, but he's not Macho Camacho.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was like the president of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was absurd. And people were watching it like, God, man, this seems outrageous. And then Trump gets in office, who was a wrestler at one point, right? He had a WWE.
Right. He's in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about it. Big,
and of course,
beautiful
Elon
bill.
Musk, right? I mean, Elon Musk, just a few years ago, had like children's books being written about him as how he should be a role model, that basically he's our Edison. And now he's up there, acting like a goofus with his chainsaw and, he is a smart man. And that's part of and so is Donald Trump. It's one of the things that really bothers me about our culture is
I don't think
if
so.
you're intelligent, well, he's not like smart like the way we are, but he's smart. But he's smart, he's cunning. Donald Trump.
Okay, I'm sorry. Define that then. Define that for me, because I don't think he is. I think he is completely incompetent.
Well, first of all, he has the ability. What his whole shtick is, right? You see it like at his rallies. He throws shit at the wall, and whatever sticks, he repeats. Right? It's kind of the scientific method. And he doesn't take anything for granted. So, for example, I would argue that he completely reinvented campaigning, although pretty much nobody's noticed. So, like, for example, Hillary Clinton, when she launched her campaign in 2016, she paid $5 million for a stage in the shape of the United States to build in Queens that she could just stand on with Manhattan as a backdrop. I'm going to completely leave out the fact that probably Manhattan as a backdrop is not really the message you want to send to the country as a whole. But the point is, okay, so Donald Trump was like, it doesn't matter where I'm on TV. I can do this in an elementary school in Altoona, Pennsylvania. It's free. They're happy to have me come and talk. And I'm on TV. Also, like, he killed the stump speech. Like, the whole idea,
I give you
the
that.
same
Yes.
speech at every single place. Okay, well, we don't live in the age of railroads anymore. Like, we have TV. Like, if I see Donald Trump in Altoona and then I see him in Allentown, he better say two different things. Otherwise, why am I watching twice? That's why, he kept getting covered, because he didn't have a speech. He just goes up there and it's free-form jazz. He just talks about whatever's on his mind. So therefore, he might say anything. So CNN has to watch. That's revolutionary. Honestly, most candidates, Kamala Harris was still giving stump speeches in the last cycle. Why? It literally means there's only interest in the speech the first time it's delivered, and that's it. So there's just all sorts of things like that he did. But I guess my point is that in this country, you have to quote the punk band Flipper, act stupider than you really are. And that sucks. I mean, really, truly. I mean,
I don't think he's acting. I just don't think he's acting. Look, I'll give you this, for example. Two things. One, every movement in a direction is not progression. So, like, just because you move in a particular direction doesn't mean you might advance, but it doesn't mean you're going in a positive direction. And I'm saying that to say there is a difference between what is in the best interest of the country versus what is in the best interest of the individual or the candidate. Me making $1 trillion is great for me. It may not necessarily be a great thing for the country as a whole. It's kind of like the debate thing when Trump is like, or Kamala Harris is like, I don't need a debate. I'm ahead of the polls. And then when she falls behind in the polls, Trump is like, well, I don't need another debate. Because at this point, now he is ahead. And he was doing this in the primaries where he wouldn't debate anybody. He only had downward to go. And so why am I going to risk falling in the polls to somebody who I'm already 30 points above? I'm not going to debate. Is that good for the country? Hell no. It's not. Is it good for Trump? Yes. And I'm saying doing that stump speech is supposed to communicate something to the audience about what you plan to do when you get in office. As you point out, he can talk about anything. He can talk about goldfish. Yeah, my hamster died when I was 4 years old, and they would listen to it and they'd be like, oh my God. And it's like, okay, dude, I get it. You can talk about anything for 5 hours. Sometimes it's funny. Sometimes it's comical. Sometimes he's mocking people.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not communicating anything that is substantive, that helps anybody. No. It's just jazz. It's comedic jazz.
It is jazz. Yeah.
But it works. I think it's your point. It does work. I agree with you. It works. But God, that sucks as a way of going about things.
And that's what the American people want. Apparently, the American people don't want homeless people to have a place to live. Apparently, they don't want to not have to worry about money if they get a tumor. Apparently, they don't want to be able to send their kids to college. Apparently, they don't want the earth to stop boiling. but they want entertainment as we all die. Yeah.
What is it, brain circus?
I'm sorry, I got you. I completely derailed you from the big, beautiful.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's just, Jesus Christ. It just sucks. Like, sometimes you need to eat your peas. Like, there's a reason that parents don't feed their kids Jello and ding dongs 3 times a day, even though the kid would eat, yoo-hoo and ding dongs 3 times a day if you gave it to him.
100%.
Hey, I need you to eat your peas. Why? Because this may be bland and boring, but you need this.
They won't kill you as fast. So
yeah. I tell my audience at times, like, it's like, I'm going to bring this person on. This person's going to get 2 views. I don't care. You need to eat your peas. It's just stuff.
I hope I'm not that person.
No, you're not that person. The audience loves you. You've seen it forever.
I want to be entertaining too.
No, there's some places around the globe that I know my audience doesn't care about. I just know it. I just know as a flat. They're not going to care about this, but they should know about this. It's just that.
Although I do think you can make anything super entertaining if it's presented correctly. So, for example, back years ago when I had a radio show in LA, I was trying to do. I was having a similar conversation with a friend about like how basically like you couldn't get Americans didn't care about foreign policy and they didn't care about things that were remote or that countries they'd never heard of or couldn't spell. So to try to illustrate this, I created a segment called Stand Watch, breaking news from Central Asia. And it was like basically, so it was very serious. It was literally the news from Central Asian former Soviet republics, which is a super interesting part of the world. But I even got granular down to the weather, everything. Anyway, this was meant to be a prank, to be a joke, right? Joke was on me. The ratings spiked during that period.
Really?
Stand Watch became a phenomenon. There were T-shirts. It ended up getting picked up by NPR and the BBC.
Are you serious?
We ended up in the end having a trip where we brought like 20 of our listeners to Central Asia with me along to do this. And I mean, the point is, I was wrong. The people really did want to hear about this place that they had never heard of, and Americans are thirsty for knowledge, but it's not. If you think about like say the way, parliamentary politics in Europe are presented. Like,
Oh, those are fun to
I'm
watch.
super. You and I are both informed about this stuff, but
Yeah, I love to watch that stuff.
I'm so frustrated because it's so like they don't explain any context. They don't.
Mm-mm.
It's boring. There's I don't understand why things are happening, what's going to happen, how it affects the world, how it affects me. It's sort of like, so fucking what? That's how it's presented. Like whether.
But that's the point, though.
Yeah.
The point is not to say stuff. The point is to be able to get, meaning you ask the question and to get out of that question without having to explain anything. That's the entire point. It's rhetoric.
Yeah. It's
Pew, pew.
rhetoric.
Yeah, it's rhetoric. It's unfortunate.
But it's
rhetoric.
like, I also think that to some extent, they don't know how to present this stuff. I mean,
I see.
You know what I mean? Like, I think they're just boring people. I mean, if you think about the kind of people who work at like NPR,
Yeah.
Berlin bureau, they're not going to hire dudes like us. They should. I mean, we do better for them, but that's the problem.
We'd go off the rails.
Yeah,
We'd go off the
and
rails.
people would care, and people would listen.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, I do. The majority of the show that we do on this channel is international politics. And
Yeah.
as you point out, there's a segment of America that is thirsty to understand why in a way that media doesn't present. So no, I agree with you on that front. But yeah, it feels like idiocracy on some level. Like you watch
Totally.
the president. I guess my thing is define smart. Somebody say he's cunning, not necessarily smart. And the reason why I say that is I don't know how much he knows about the rest of the world.
Oh,
If he knows anything.
very little. Like, I think he takes in everything on an emotional level. So, for example, when you hear him talk, about, say, Gaza or
Yeah.
Ukraine, he'll say, like, he will get genuine about, like, it's horrible. All these people are dying. Like, so many young men. But he has no context for example, the long stand. He doesn't know, for example, that Ukraine is divided between ethnic Ukrainians and ethnic Russians and other
Right.
groups. He doesn't understand that. He wouldn't know how that happened, why that would have happened. He doesn't know about the formation of the state of Israel or the Nakba, the background, the systemic apartheid regime that's been established both in the occupied territories and in Israel proper. He doesn't know the resentments, the long stand, or for that matter, that Hamas was installed and funded by Israel. It would, all these things would. I mean, someone should explain it to him. I think he'd be smart enough to understand it. I think he's just incurious. We've had a lot of really incurious presidents. George W. Bush was always described that way. I don't think Jimmy Carter was that way. I think he may be the last. I mean, I think of Barack Obama as probably one of the more intelligent presidents we've had lately, but he's not the most curious guy either. I mean, I think he kind of knows most of the basics, but he's not like a deep diving, or if he is, he's not revealing that on the public stage.
Well, I think he's an ideologue. In fact, I think most of these people are ideologues, especially when you become president. I think something, and you tell me, you know history far better than I do. When you take the mantle on, you have a certain point of view, and you function with that point of view. So I'm now the president. I can tell people what to do, wherever they are in the world. And
that's exactly right.
Yeah, they chafe at it. So it's like, even if Obama did understand the Ukraine conflict, it didn't stop him from knocking over the government of Ukraine. Like, meaning, from the American point of view, this is just what we do. So like, his understanding of it didn't change his tenor towards expanding NATO. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong on this. That's the way I look at it.
No, I think that's right. I mean, like, I also think part of it, and part of the incuriosity is, I mean, can you imagine, Jamal, like you and I, let's say you're the president and I'm the vice president, and we're like running the country. I mean, we could get anyone we wanted to tell us, to any expert on any field. You could, like, President Thomas would like a briefing from you at the White House. Everybody, captains of industry, leading experts in their academics, they drop whatever they're doing. President Thomas wants to see me at the White House. You go, right? And so the thing is that, like, you don't, for example, these guys don't have academics come in. That always freaks me out. Like, they literally, half my cabinet would be professors. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like they know the most about these topics, right? And it's like, I mean, to me, it's crazy. Like, you know, like the nation's leading economist should be the Secretary of the Treasury and the head of the Federal Reserve Bank, or both. We don't do that, right? It's really, really, I mean, it's nuts. And so, like, that's part of the curiosity, right? It's like bringing the right people at the table, like Barack Obama and all of these guys. They, when they look around at that table, I mean, this is a clown show right now. But that was true under Biden. I've just finished reading Jake Tapper's book. That was true under Biden, too. It was a clown show of a different sort. And, you have to go back to the Obama years to see, like, sort of an old-fashioned traditional group of cabinet members who kind of basically, within a certain mainstream kind of way, know what they're doing and know what they're talking about. But they're very, they're just not that, they're not that sharp. They're not the best and the brightest, right?
Right.
They described JFK's cabinet, which may or may not have been true, right? But that's not the standard now. So, I mean, if I were Biden in 2022, and for all we know, by the way, it's Jill Stein. It's Jill Biden, not Jill Stein. Sadly, not Jill Stein. It's
Running
Jill
the White
Biden
House.
who basically started the proxy war with Russia, right? That may well have been the case. We don't know. It wasn't Joe. And but the Biden administration could have brought in the leading experts about the post-Soviet space, from far left to far right and everything in between, to just get deep analysis. They didn't do that. Nobody there was at the table saying, Putin's pissed because Gorbachev was promised that NATO would not expand beyond where it was then. And we kept breaking that promise, and Clinton was fucking with the Russians, and now we've really crossed their line in the sand. There's no one at the table saying, like, if I were Putin, this is what I'd be thinking. They're not doing that, and it's like, so they keep making stupid mistakes,
But you're saying that as if they care.
Well,
I don't think they
that's
do.
my point. They don't care.
No, what I mean,
They don't care about getting the right info.
exactly. Meaning they have a political objective. That's all that matters. The political objective. And our political objective is we want to expand NATO to the border of Russia. We want to knock over the government of Ukraine. We want to destabilize Russia. We want to break up Russia. Meaning they have objectives to accomplish.
But then also they're not thinking about it like, okay, so what if we succeeded in, that's the thing too, right? Like, what if you succeeded in destabilizing Russia? Let's say Russia were to collapse. Think about the geopolitical and economic implications that would impact the United States economy and our own. It would make America less safe. Every time we've destabilized places, Iraq, Afghanistan, it's always come back. There's always been blowback, and there's no one at the table who says that, right?
They don't care.
They
don't care. In their minds, they're insulated. So even if there's blowback, it's not hitting us, meaning whatever the elite is. And two, when we finally settle it, it will be under our control. I legit think the way they look at it. They accept the blowback. They accept the fire because they themselves are not the ones being hit. Like, it's one thing if George Bush was hit in 9/11. Okay, that's different, right? That's not usually what happens. When that CEO from the healthcare got popped, and they flipped out, like, oh my God. They flipped out because, oh my God, one of us has gotten killed for something that one of us was doing. Normally, I don't keep bringing up books. There is this great scene in Death's End in the Three Body series where the guy says, one scientist tells another, he says, I believe there's always one seat at the table that never gets hit. Like that, meaning that seat is always there, regardless of what happens in the world. That table always remained made. And he said, in this table, there's no fucking seat that won't be unseated. His point being that this is not a situation where there's going to be a seat that remains at the table. Everybody gets taken out.
No, I mean, look, your point is taken. That's 99.99999% of the time. That's exactly how it goes.
Yeah.
And it's very striking when you see the counterfactual, right? Like if you look at the video of Ceausescu right before he's shot, right?
Mhm.
And he and his wife are on trial. It's what's really striking is the look on both of their eyes, in their eyes. It's sort of like, wait, you're going to hurt me.
Yeah.
Me. I mean, me. That's me we're talking about here. Like, I mean,
Right.
when hurt happens, it usually happens to other people. Like, but now, wait, what? And I mean, the shock of it, up until the moment that they're shot, that their guns down, right? They just have this like, holy shit.
This is real. Yeah.
Because that's what revolution is, right? It's revolution is like every now and then, like, half a dozen times or a dozen times or 24 times in our history, sometimes like the revolution comes for the people at the table that you described who never get affected. But it's so rare. That's why we write books about it. For the most part, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, and because that doesn't happen, they feel insulated. They feel untouched.
And
they don't care.
They're kind of right. I mean, of course, they're right until they're not. I mean, what's sad is that there's no. What's sad is that like we see everything from. We think, well, at least in your self-interest, you should, you would want to be remembered fondly, let's say, but no.
Well, that's why you're propaganda.
Really, but I mean, but what about just fucking common decency? Weren't you raised right?
It doesn't matter. That's what I keep saying.
Did they tell you to care about other people? I mean, what the fuck?
My mom hates it when I tell her this. I said, look, when you're looking at geopolitics, morality doesn't matter. Ethics doesn't matter. Only in so much as you can use it to attack your opponent. None of this stuff matters. You have political objectives that you want to accomplish. And because if you look at the world as an atheist and you said, none of this stuff matters, I'm not going to be punished if I die. I have objectives that I want to accomplish. And in those objectives that I want to accomplish, people may get hurt, but I'm going to accomplish those objectives. And even though there's going to be chaos, like for example, Iraq, the U.S. is, despite the fact that Iraq turned into a dumpster fire after we overthrew the country, ISIS and everything else came out, we still patrol Iraq. We're still in control.
True.
And in Syria, same thing, right? Syria may turn into another civil war, but ultimately, from our point of view, our guy is now in Syria right now, even though it took billions of dollars, 20, 30 years for it to happen, our guy is in Syria. That's the way they look at it. And
right. Although the way I would look at it is, is he really our guy? I mean, is he really? I mean, I wouldn't trust that bearded mofo further than I could throw him.
He shaved the beard, by the way. He doesn't really have a beard.
But I wouldn't trust that guy at all.
Is he really our guy? Look, we don't get to choose angels for those roles. You need a bearded guy who's a sociopath, who's willing to do that in the first place.
Yeah.
It's just who you get to choose. It's just your choice.
I know. And you can also, again, see the counterfactuals. Like every now and then, someone who's not a total shithead somehow squeezes through.
Putin.
A Václav Havel, like Akayev, the president of Kyrgyzstan, long forgotten. He was the only democratically elected president of a former Soviet Central Asian republic. Bush had him overthrown. He had to go, because he was like a liberal. And you know why? He had the temerity to ask the Americans to pay some rent on the airbase that we have in Bishkek. And we're like, oh, we don't pay. We overthrow you, is what we do instead. And we put
that was a Ryan thing too, right?
And we turn your country into a failed state. That's what we do. And then we keep the airbase.
That was the Ryan thing, where they were, oh God, Mogadeth, I think, where he was like, hey, we want to use the oil money for the benefit of Iran.
Yeah,
and
like
the guy has to go.
Iranian oil.
Yep. He's like, that guy has to go.
Right.
And Putin is one of those people who squeezed through. I'm glad you brought that up. This wasn't a planned conversation, but it doesn't matter. The audience seems to love it. We jumped like 30 views. So this is the guy talking about Putin. Because, you would know, as a student of history, Boris Yeltsin was effectively under the thumb of the U.S.
Oh, and he
You
was,
know,
just
yeah,
a total clown show, total asshole, drunkard, loser.
like we love the fact. In fact, we helped get Boris Yeltsin in office. There's a Time in Life magazine called "Welcome the Yanks" or something like that, or "Here Comes the Yanks," and it points out how Bill Clinton put in propaganda teams in order to help Yeltsin get into office because the communists was going to most likely win it.
Yeah.
All right, Putin was the VP. Putin was the VP. Listen to this clip. Listen to what this guy says about part of the reason why they hate Putin so much.
There was a deep state in Russia in the 1990s, these oligarchs.
Yes.
And we lost control over Russia. They're basically analogizing Trump to Putin. And they're saying we had all this control. We had total control over Russia during the Boris Yeltsin period. And we had all these relationships with the Russian oligarchs. But then Putin had a natural advantage as being the head of state, was somehow able to take over the Russian deep state. And then we lost control over Russia.
This is right. This is like the heart of it that nobody ever says. It's Putin's decision to decapitate the oligarchy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason they hate him.
Right there. Meaning, when Yeltsin was in power, they effectively had some level of control over Russia, especially from the standpoint of the oligarchs that were in charge. This is what Ritter, if you ever listen to Ritter makes this point, he makes it extremely well. Of how when Putin came in, that went away. Like he effectively wrestled power away from those oligarchs.
Oh yeah, and in a very hardcore way, right? Like like Yukos and all those guys, all the oil guys. He was just like, I'm. It's kind of like the law is the law and property rights are property rights, but this has gone too far. And basically, the state was powerless at that point. So he decided to wrestle back control. It's like you can have a country in the modern era, in a post 1991 space that is, run by a nation state and a government the way Russia is now, or it could be the Wild West, anarchy run by corporations and oligarchs, who were, by the way, assassinating each other right and left and turning the streets of Moscow into, bloody asphalt. I mean, I know I was there when it was going on. I mean, in the 90s. One time I'm staying at the Radisson in Moscow, and just second night I'm there. I'm like, it's like the doormen are like, please wait. We're cleaning up. A guy was just killed right in front of the hotel.
Are you
We're
serious?
cleaning up the body. Happened all the time. It was like routine. I mean, so it was anarchic, right? And it would have been disturbing for anybody, but particularly, Soviets were, citizens were used to living in a well-ordered society, and then suddenly that vanished. And Yeltsin presided over nothing. I mean, he was living at the bottom of a bottle, and there was no government. And that was what George H.W. Bush and then Bill Clinton. That's what they wanted. And so like anybody who, I mean, if you know that history, you know why Putin's popular, because it's like we're not going back to that crap. And I don't blame them at all.
Wow. America doesn't know that. America just doesn't know that.
We made that happen. I mean, just think about like the opportunity. Again, President Thomas, Vice President Rall, like it's 1991. It's like we can't, there's a world in which on Christmas Day, 1991, we can call up whoever is in charge of the Kremlin and say, listen, this is your big capitalist friends calling. We're very happy that you've decided to join the club. We're going to throw billions of dollars at you. We're going to help you make a soft landing. We're going to bring you in from transition from socialism over to a market economy. We're going to help fund it. If there's going to be some bumps along the way, but your people aren't going to starve. We're going to make sure there's law and order. We're going to show you how we do it. It's going to take 20, 30 years, but we'll help you out. That's not what we did. And by the way, if we'd done that, Russia would be our ally. I mean, we would be close. We would be between them and us. We'd be ruling the world. I mean, it was a missed opportunity. And but it's like when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail, like I like to say. And
this was Jeffrey Sachs' thing, by the way. Jeffrey Sachs points this out, where Jeffrey Sachs was a true believer at one point. He goes over and he's telling America, "Hey, we need like a Marshall Plan for Russia and this kind of breakup of the republics." And they told Sachs flat out, we're not helping them. This is not about helping them. That's not what we're doing. It's like, screw, look, they will never rise again. What's the point? They will never get to a point where they will challenge the U.S. hegemony.
Which, by the way, didn't happen. It's like, well, they're going to rise again because they're the biggest country in the world. They have 11 time zones and more natural resources, and they've been in their crisis tested, right? These are Russians. They've been through everything. You think our little sanctions are going to annoy them? Like, you don't know these people. They lost 28 million people in one war. So it's like, yeah, of course they're going to rise again. They're going to rise again. The question is just, are you going to be their friend or their enemy? That's up to you,
And we decided enemy. We looked at them
stupidly, really stupidly, unnecessarily. I mean, I always think about Putin when he was mayor of St. Petersburg. He was so pro-American that he thought the future was with Europe. He asked to join NATO. He wanted. Yes, he did. And then Bill Clinton's like, he wants to join NATO. What? And the street, he had all the street signs convert. It's like, don't you understand? NATO is about hating you.
Right.
It's like, and then all the street signs in St. Petersburg were converted to dual language Russian and English. It's still today. There's English light.
Are they? I didn't know. See, I've never been. I'm so jealous that you've been able to go. I've always
in
wanted
Moscow too. It's like no problem. It's like how Americans are always like, well, what if I went to this country and I didn't speak the language? No worries in Russia. I mean, there's English. There's English signs everywhere. That's not true in China at all. So it's like they did that because they really thought that was. They wanted to have the lingua franca. They wanted all the tourists to come over. I mean, he was totally like, I'm on Team America, USA. And we just told him to fuck off. It's like Fidel Castro when he took over Cuba. He reached out to the U.S. and said, I want an alliance. I want to get along. I mean, let's have full trade relations. We were like, you're a communist, fuck you.
Wow.
And here we are all these years later. It's madness. Really, Ho Chi Minh, when he was inaugurated. If you look at picture, you can look it up on Google image search. When he was inaugurated, there were communist flags interspersed with U.S. flags at his inauguration, because the U.S. was anti-colonialist, and he thought he actually believed our rhetoric that we were anti-colonialist, and he thought and he based the Viet Minh Constitution on the U.S. Constitution. He was inspired by the U.S. He wanted to be buds with us.
That's called soft power. Yeah. That's called soft power.
Yeah.
Meaning, I don't need to be at war with you if culturally I can bring you onto my side.
Yeah.
But that's soft power.
But you're a communist. No. The assessment. I mean, if you watch, it's that 27-part documentary about the Vietnam War on PBS. I forget the name.
Ken Burns? Is it Ken Burns?
Ken Burns one.
Yeah.
And it's in that, it's not perfect, but it's good. And it talks about, but they keep saying what we just never understood was this was a nationalist movement. It was more than it was a socialist movement. And we just never understood that they weren't our ideological enemies. They just wanted self-determination. And I'm thinking, just like they just said all the time. All you had to do was
listen to what they said. By the way, I need to let you go, but Robert McNamara, that's another really good documentary. Mm-hmm. It's called
Fog of War.
Fog of War. Okay, you already. God, I should have known that you already know it. That is a fantastic documentary.
Yeah,
and it's like an old man at the end of his life, looking over his failures and fuck ups.
Yeah,
that's what it put me in the mind of. I mean, even in the very beginning, it sounds like the guy's yelling at Robert McNamara. He's like, well, why did you do blah, blah, blah? And McNamara has responded, but it sounds like the guy's yelling at him, almost like he's chastising him. It is a fantastic documentary.
So good.
But at one point, he points out, he says, rationality is not always rational. Oh, I love that. I love that.
That's so good.
It's so good. And he's trying to make this argument look, you can take rational actions. And I think he's wrong, by the way. Rationality is always rational. It's tethered to something. It's not untethered.
Or maybe you're not in the best position yourself
exactly
to assess whether you're being rational. That's why if you're not sure, especially in a crisis, the best move is to surround yourself by advisors and consiglieres who are people who don't see things your way, who come from a different background, and they can be like, Ted, you're kind of fucking up here. And it's like, oh, really? And then you have to be open to that. You have to be like, oh, shit, really? But
Ted, I'm going to have to let you go, man. I always love these conversations. The audience loves you. I think we gained like 30, 40 viewers. Just with us, just having a conversation.
Hello, viewers. Love you, too.
Ted Rall, he's a political analyst, cartoonist, syndicated columnist, host of the TMI show with the beautiful, the lovely, the fantastic Manila Chan.
Right after this.
Right after this, he comes on at 10 a.m. So definitely check him out. Ted, man, thank you for this. Always appreciate you. I love these conversations. Thank you for
pleasure.
this.
Talk to you soon.
Have a good one.